The internet, it's home to just about anything you could possibly imagine, and that includes killers. Gambling is one of those risky things where even if you win, you just might lose. Chinese couple Kevin Yang and Cici Zhou were new students temporarily living in the UK. Residing in a new country made it difficult to find employment. This led them to find alternative means of bringing in a steady income. Both students frequently engaged with online Chinese gamblers. Kevin also sought additional forms of cash by supplying Chinese students with fake education certificates and documents, enabling them to travel to England. It was estimated that the couple were easily earning about £233,000 within a matter of 3 years. Their ties with illegal online businesses would eventually run its course when they decided to offer their room up for rent. A man by the name of Guang Chao messaged the couple in hopes of renting out the additional space. Cici and Kevin obliged the man's offer. No one would ever hear from the couple after their physical encounter with the man. It was 2 days later when friends had discovered the bodies of Cici and Kevin dead in their home. Cici was bound face down on her bed with a rag stuffed in her mouth and had been brutally hit multiple times in the head with a hammer until dead. The body of Kevin was later discovered in another room, having been fatally hit with a hammer to his face and head, leaving him unrecognizable. Guang Chao was soon apprehended and pled not guilty to the gruesome deaths of the couple. Breck Bednar was a 14-year-old boy who was described as a passionate kid who would do just about anything to please his friends and family. Over the course of a few months, he stumbled into the life of online gaming where he met Lewis Danes, a 19-year-old computer engineer. After some time, Breck didn't find any issue trusting his new online friend. It didn't take very long before the gaming sessions turned into more than just fun and games. His parents began noticing changes when his behavior became irrational. He isolated himself from his daily activities and wished to spend as much time online as possible. It became apparent that Breck's new friend was exerting influence and control over him. Lewis convinced Breck to stay the night at his flat, claiming it would help the both of them get acquainted with each other. Lewis sent out a final email to Breck, instructing him on how to convince his parents into letting him travel 2 hours away from home. This would be the final day that anyone would ever hear from Breck again. Police received a call from Lewis informing them that there was an altercation and only one of them had made it out alive. When police arrived, they discovered the gruesome scene of Breck's body taped up and stabbed multiple times in the neck. Hard drives were placed in water in order to delete any evidence that would tie back to Lewis. Sexual motives were also thought to have played a role in Breck's brutal murder. Lewis pled guilty to the murder of Breck and is now facing a minimum term of 25 years in prison. Utilizing the internet to fulfill sexual desires can be a risky business. Since the day they met, Miranda Barber and her husband Elliot knew they were destined to kill as companions. Miranda would post frequent ads on Craigslist in hopes of reaching out to men for sexual favors. With luck, 3 men responded to her ad. However, out of the 3, only 1 man was interested enough to meet in person. Once establishing a meetup location at a parking lot, their victim offered Michelle $100 in exchange for sex in her vehicle. Miranda signaled her husband to come around the car and strangle the man while she proceeded to stab the victim 20 times. The man's body was later found in a residential backyard by police. Once tracing calls back to the couple's phone, police were able to investigate and make a formal arrest. Miranda later admitted in court that she was part of a satanic cult and thoroughly enjoyed killing dozens of people in her lifetime. That claim, however, was unverifiable. Michelle and Elliot pled guilty to the charge of second-degree murder. Both are currently awaiting trial. According to neighbors, John Edward Robinson was a kind-hearted family man. They were wrong. From a young age, John was no stranger to police in Kansas City. In 1969, he was arrested for forging credentials in order to obtain a technician job at a medical office. This escalated to his multiple arrests on security fraud, mail fraud, and check forgeries. Despite his criminal activity, he cultivated a second life, one that gave him the outward appearance of a happy family man. Eventually, he started his own company, which he used to lure young women. Promising great wages and new wardrobes, vulnerable girls would make their way to Kansas City in hopes of a fresh start. It wouldn't take long before each female turned up missing and would never be seen again. Soon after John's incarceration in 1993, he began making his way onto the internet, identifying himself as the Slavemaster, looking for women interested in sexual relations. Eventually, John became a popular person on BDSM chat rooms and convinced 3 females to meet him in order to engage in bondage relationships. To no surprise, each woman would turn up missing. Continuing to lure women online, police were able to track John in 1999. Once obtaining search warrants to his land, authorities discovered the decaying bodies of 2 women found in chemical drums. These were believed to be women found in online chat rooms. With a long list of missing persons in Kansas, police were able to tie the disappearance of 8 women to him. John Robinson is currently serving a life sentence without the chance for parole. A strong enough desire for attention can drive a person to do some pretty horrific things. This was the case of Lacey Spears, a full-time blogger who based her page on her 5-year-old son battling an apparent mystery illness. Taking to social media, Lacey gained a fairly large amount of followers who wished to help her child. Things took a dark turn when she realized going the next step towards internet popularity meant ending her son's life. In a bizarre bid for attention, she proceeded to inject him with lethal amounts of salt through a tube she attached to his stomach while posting pictures on social media. Unfortunately, her child succumbed to sodium poisoning while in the hospital. Upon further investigation, police laid charges on the young mother. Lacey pled not guilty and was eventually sentenced to 20 years in prison for the second-degree murder of her son. Some people want to die, they just don't want to do it alone. Hiroshi Mayui was a Japanese man that suffered with an atypical sexual fetishism, which translated as he could only feel sexual excitement by strangling others. In 2005, Hiroshi signed up for an online suicide club in order to lure his victims into taking their lives with him. The promise revolved around a suicide pact that consisted of sitting inside of a vehicle while lighting a charcoal burner. Once alone with his desired victim, he would choke them to death using his bare hands. Within a 4-month period, Hiroshi was successful in convincing 3 victims into taking a suicide pact just before murdering them. Police were able to identify him as the man responsible for all 3 deaths. In a rather ironic form of justice, Hiroshi was executed by hanging in Osaka, Japan in July of 2009. Online dating opens up countless opportunities. That doesn't mean you're going to want all of them. Jennifer Conyers was a social worker in Baltimore who was interested in online dating. It didn't take too long before she was matched with 38-year-old Monty Carter. Things didn't last very long when firefighters and police responded to a house fire at Jennifer's residence. Upon further investigation, police identified the body of a female lying face down and bound with electrical cords in her basement. Medical examiners were able to discover that after her date with Monty, the two decided to go up to her room where he beat her to death and dragged her body down to the basement. Covering up his tracks, he decided it was best to burn her body and the house. Fighting for an old relationship is understandable, but it's important not to let it go too far. This is something Paul Bristol learned the hard way when he discovered on social media that his ex-girlfriend, Camille, had moved on with her life. After their breakup, Camille wanted to start fresh and decided it was best to move out of the country to England. This was something that enraged her ex-boyfriend. He began stalking her Facebook profile until he came across her new boyfriend. Unable to accept the past, Paul flew from Trinidad all the way to England, where he eventually tracked down his ex and stabbed her multiple times in her home. Camille's sister stated to police that her sister had spotted Paul the day before her murder, where he was stalking her as she was driving back home from work. Paul Bristol is currently awaiting trial. You just never know who you can trust. William Melchert Dinkle, a former nurse, was convicted of assisting people in committing suicide over the internet in 2010. To him, playing doctor on the internet was something he enjoyed very much. His main objective was to target multiple people in chat rooms where he portrayed himself as a depressed female in her 20s. Once encouraging his victims, he would watch the acts unfold on webcam while explaining the best method to commit suicide. He would go on to assist in the killings of an 18-year-old university student who he tried to convince to hang herself, but instead she jumped off a bridge, and a 32-year-old man who suffered a nervous breakdown and was told to hang himself in his home. And that's exactly what he did. It's believed William may have played a role in more suicides. In 2011, William was tracked down through previous chat room messages and was charged under a rarely used law which forbids anyone from assisting or encouraging suicide over the internet. He is now serving 3 years in prison. Expecting a baby should be one of the best moments in a mother's life. Just weeks before delivering her baby, Bobby Jo Stinnett was a dog breeder who frequently posted on message boards in order to sell her rat terrier puppies. Through the website, Bobby was introduced to Lisa Montgomery, who commonly went by her online persona, Darlene Fisher. It didn't take long before the two exchanged emails and developed a friendship. Lisa soon discovered that Bobby was expecting a child and was close to her due date. It was around this time when Lisa informed Bobby that she too was pregnant, something she ultimately lied about to gain her victim's trust. Lisa arranged to meet at Bobby's house, claiming to want to buy a rat terrier from the expecting mother. Upon meeting in person, Lisa made her way into the home quickly and began strangling Bobby with rope, and immediately started cutting her belly open as she was unconscious, gruesomely tearing the premature baby out of Bobby. It was about an hour after the horrific assault when Bobby's mother discovered her daughter lying in a pool of her own blood. Bobby was pronounced dead when she arrived at the nearest hospital. Hours before Lisa's arrest, witnesses spotted Lisa in cafes showing off the newborn with her husband to the public. Upon investigation, neuropsychologists discovered that Lisa suffered from severe pseudocyesis, a medical condition that causes a woman to falsely believe she is pregnant. In 2008, the jury involved in the trial recommended a death sentence after discovering that Lisa had planned the attack a while before initiating a meetup. The judge has since upheld the recommendation for Lisa Montgomery's death. That's all for now. Be sure to subscribe to my channel so you don't miss the next episode of Seriously Strange. See you next time. Thank you for watching. Click on screen now or below this video to subscribe to my channel. Also, if you learned something new, be sure to click the thumbs up button. See you soon.